thank y'all for being here.
Holden, I guess, what was the message to you in the recruiting process when a team has a returning quarterback and they have some freshmen coming in? What was kind of the role you were sold on?
Sure, yeah. Like you said, obviously Mason is the guy coming back, and he's like Angelo said, he's an unbelievable player, unbelievable person. But kind of the message was, obviously come in and push him to be the best that he can be. So going into year 5 for me, it's kind of crazy to think about. But being an older guy and knowing he's a younger guy who's had a lot of success and has a tremendous amount of upside, I saw a great opportunity to come in and really just work with him and all the other guys as well. And kind of mentor them, give them some wisdom, things of that nature. So that really is one of the reasons that I came here, and so I'm super excited to continue building that relationship with him, giving him some wisdom and things that I've experienced in my past in big games. So that was really the message and what I look forward to helping him with this year.
Well, you mentioned it there, but you got 2 guys that were a couple months ago were in high school. What's it like working with guys with that energy, and does that kind of keep you like their enthusiasm kind of keep you going?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I look back and think about it kind of in reflection. This is my last year of college football. It's kind of crazy to think about. It flies by. These guys, I mean, they're just out of high school, and I remember those days like they were yesterday. So I remember my first walkthrough, and I'm sure these guys can attest the same way. Like it's a different pace, and it really is different, especially at this level. So kind of as you mentioned, being able to have these guys, throughout the whole team, it's kind of a young team. So having the guys with super big energy and things of that nature, really feeds into me as well. And obviously, I've been around the game a long time, but I've been part of a lot of older teams. So being a part of a younger team is different for me, and I'm loving it so far. Having these guys who they're always wanting to be up here working and watching film and just getting better. Really, I mean it's tremendous, and I think that's really going to pay off. Come fall.
What are some of those pearls of wisdom, pieces of advice that you try to share with them?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we had our mentorship meetings this morning, excuse me, and kind of what I told those guys is really just like I said. I mean, it flies by. So I'm like I said, going into year 5. So just coming in, control what you can control is really the biggest thing. So coming in with a smile on your face and just working as hard as you can. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Now 4.5, 5 years ago, I was like, oh man, I got so much time. Like maybe I can just take a rep off here, whatever it is. So just attacking each and every day with a positive attitude and really just enjoy the moments. I mean, it's an incredibly high stress environment around here, like around any college, any professional sports, anything. So being able to just take a step back and being able to enjoy the moments with your brothers, I think is really super important and something that I've maybe not necessarily focused on a ton early in my career, but as I've matured, I've really learned, and so that's kind of something that I've tried to pass along.
What have 4 years taught you about the quarterback position?
Sure.
How to go about it, the film room, so on and so forth. Just how do you feel like you've grown as a college player?
I think I've grown tremendously. Obviously I wish I could have played more in the past and whatnot, but obviously that's kind of out of my control now, obviously. So in terms of growing, like you said, just in the film room, watching guys that really know what they're looking for. I mean, I've had a tremendous amount of coaches that have been able to pour into me. So that's really where I give the credit to, is just having coaches that really, having that amount of coaches that have different perspectives. So I've had coaches who we've talked only about coverages, and then we've watched a ton of film on that. So kind of for me, just looking at my past and the quarterbacks that I've been with and the coaches that I've been with, and kind of dissecting like, all right, what works and what doesn't work. And when it comes to watching film or reading defenses or learning a new playbook, I've had to learn a new playbook every year I've been in college. So kind of going back and thinking like, all right, like when I watch film this way, looking at the coverage first or whatever it may be, this works versus the vice versa. So that's kind of, I think, where I've grown, and really not try to minimize, the inefficiency, but just being as most efficient as I can be. Obviously, as a graduate now, I get to spend as much time as possible up here. So being able to learn the playbook and the teams we're going to play, and kind of going into year 5 knowing how to do that, better at least, I'm very thrilled to be able to do that, and lucky.
Holden, roughly 20 passing attempts across 4 years for you. How would you just evaluate your game action, and what did you learn from those opportunities?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've been extremely blessed to be able to play in some big time environments, and I thank the Lord every day for that. So being able to just take that and obviously I wish I could have played better. Obviously, we always do. So, you know, what I would take from that is just kind of looking at that and being like, all right, well, what could I have done better, or how could I have, you know, handled the situation better? Maybe taking a deep breath. So that's kind of how I would view that. And then just, you know, being able to just get the open guys the ball. That's really the main thing. So being able to know the system is obviously number one, and then, you know, just getting the guys the ball and everything like that. So obviously we can't do our job without the O-line, you know, the receivers and running backs, and obviously the coaches as well.
What type of chip on your shoulder does that give you, just, you know, from your past experience, playing experiences, maybe
Sure.
not going the way you maybe wanted it to?
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, came into college wanting to play and still want to play. So there's obviously that chip on my shoulder that kind of drives me every day as well, you know. So not getting, you know, as many opportunities maybe in the past kind of drives me forward, be like, okay, like there's still another year left, you know. So maybe this year will be a good year. I'm going to put everything I have into it this year. So whether that's me playing or whoever is playing, you know, I'm going to pour into whoever it is playing, and I'm going to give it my all for sure.
Well, you said you still want to play, and that's still the goal. And I mean this in a positive way. You sound like a coach up there. Like, is this something? This experience is something that you're thinking down the line of like, hey, I'm gathering information. That's something you might want.
It's definitely a possibility. I don't know for sure what the future holds, but definitely I've enjoyed kind of taking a step back this year and kind of reflecting on, you know, my past, kind of how we've mentioned, and really just thinking like, okay, we got a bunch of young guys, like how can I pour my wisdom and experience into them? So whether that's coaching or just maybe this year, you know, mentoring them and just putting everybody in the best situation that I can, you know, from my experience. Obviously the coaches have, you know, a lot more experience than I do, and so I'm learning every day from them as well, you know. So whether that's coaching or not, obviously I want to be a coach on the field as a player, you know, and that's what we all strive for. So that's kind of how I view it. You know, especially as the quarterback, we have to know what everybody does and what the defense does as well. So being able to, you know, coach the receivers, running backs, O-line, get them in the right protection, things of that nature, and just kind of explain why. I think that's a big key. Obviously, it's big to know it, but explain to like the receivers, O-line, if they have a question, you know, why are we doing something? I think is huge, and something else that I've learned as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you and Nate Yarnell were teammates at Texas State. Did he tell you anything about Pitt? What's your relationship?
Yeah, a little bit. Me and Nate, you know, have a good relationship. Obviously, I was with him for a year, so it's kind of funny that, you know, we kind of switched roles in a sense. But yeah, he told me a little bit about it. Obviously, he played under Coach Bell, you know, threw for 350 under Clemson, so that was obviously, you know, big time for him. And you know, Nate's an unbelievable man. I mean, he's awesome. I love Nate to death. I appreciate my time with him for sure. And you know, we talked a little bit when I came here, and he was just like, man, you're gonna love it. You know, Coach Bell and all the coaches, really the people around here. It's very people oriented and very, you know, relationship oriented. You know, so Nate's awesome. I can't, you know, thank my time enough with him. I appreciate, you know, his wisdom as well for, you know, what he taught me and things of that nature. And you know, he, like I said, just, you know, couldn't say enough good things about Pitt.
What have you liked about Pittsburgh since you've been here?
I'm sorry?
What have you liked about being in Pittsburgh since you've been here?
Well, you know, I think an easier way to answer that is what have I not liked. But what I have not liked is the cold, obviously, from Savannah, Georgia. I'm used to the sunny, warm weather. But no, Pittsburgh's been awesome. I've never really lived in a big city, you know, so being able to kind of get that different experience. So obviously going into my last year, it's kind of cool, you know, living in a big city. You know, most people out of college sometimes at least go to a big city and live for a few years. So maybe, you know, down the road, this summer or something, I'll be able to take an internship and kind of really get the full, you know, city experience. So that's something I've liked for sure.
All good.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Holden.